Okay, so for our next section, we already understand how to use the standard imperial ruler with 12 inches broken into 16ths. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be flipping the scale around. And again, note that on the end of the scale, there is a printed number. It should be either a whole number or a fractional number. And we're going to spin it around, and we're going to look for the one that says 1/4 inch. You might have to do a little bit of flipping, manipulating to find it. But what you should see is on the right hand side, it will read 1/4. On the left hand side it says 1/8. Okay, and what we're going to be focusing on right now is this end here, 1/4. Now, a couple of things to note. The 0 doesn't start over here, the 0 starts in a little bit on the line with the 0. Take a look at how the numbers go from 0 to 2 to 4 to 6 to 8 to 10. Alright, so the large numbers on the bottom get bigger as you go up to the left. That makes sense. We would expect the numbers to get bigger as the line gets longer. You're going to see though that there's another set of numbers, smaller numbers. Notice how starting at 0, the little number immediately after is 92, and then 88, and then 84, and then 80. See, if something's getting longer, the number should not be getting lower, the number should be getting higher. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to ignore the small numbers up here. See, they're for a different scale. We're going to focus on the large numbers that make up the 1/4 inch scale. Now in my CAD drawing of the 1/4 inch scale, we see the same thing is going on. The 0 is where our starting measurement proceeds from, and we have 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Now, these numbers represent feet. Because remember what we were saying? We were saying we're going to substitute 1/4 inch for a foot. So if we go back to our regular ruler, I'm going to draw a line, and I'm going to make that line 1/4 inch long. Right? And we said 1/4 inch equals a foot. So then a 1 inch line would equal 4 feet, right? Well, let's take this line. Let's take this line from up here, and let's move it down to our 1/4 inch scale. And when we do that, I want you to see where we landed. See, here's 0, and then here's 2, and then there's 4. So now, this is the beauty of the architect scale. You don't have to do the math in your head. The math has already been done on the edge of the scale. Right? 0 starts here. This is 2 feet. Here's 4 feet. Here's 6 feet. Here's 8 feet. If you went all the way down to the end of the architect scale, can you tell me how many feet you can get in one continuous measurement? That's right, you can measure 46 feet in one continuous measurement using the 1/4 inch scale on the architect scale. Now, only the odd numbered feet are left off. The even numbers are marked, but the odds are left off. But I'm pretty sure if you can see where 2 feet is, you can probably kind of figure out where 1 foot is. Can you determine, based on what you see here and on your scale, where 1 foot is? See, 1 foot would be right there, wouldn't it? Right in the middle. So 0, and then right here, 1 foot, and then 2 feet, 3 feet, right? 4 feet, and then 5 feet. It's the mark right in the middle between 4 and 6. So what I want you to see is, even though only the even number of feet are marked, it is very easy to find the odd feet also. If I were to pull this out to a measurement, can you tell me how many feet we're looking at right now? Right, so what do we got? We started at 0, we're working down to the left, 26, 28, 27 feet, right? Alright, so see, it's not that tough, and it doesn't involve doing all kinds of crazy mental gymnastics to get the math right if we use the architect scale, which has the math built into it. Now, not everything is always going to land perfectly exactly on a perfect increment of whole feet. So what we need to do is figure out, how do we show when something is a little bit bigger than a foot or just under a foot? Okay, and we got two methods for doing that. So here's our first method. I'm going to take my line here and I'm going to pull it up 28 feet, and then I'm going to pull it just a little further. Now remember, we're ignoring the 36, right? We're not paying attention to the little numbers, just looking at the big numbers. So we know it's more than 28 feet. Here's 29 feet here, but it's not 29 feet. And this happened to stop right here on this line, on this increment, exactly between 28 and 29. So what do you suppose that might be? Alright, so what you want to do is you want to avoid the temptation to say that this is 28.5 feet. Okay, so that would cut it in a math class, but the reality is we're not going to use decimal feet when we're measuring with an architect scale. So no, this is not 28.5 feet. It is 28.5 feet, but the way that we're going to express that is we're going to use feet and inches. So this is 28 feet and 6 more inches. So if your measurement happens to land on one of these small increments between the whole feet, well then you know it's half of a foot or 6 inches. Okay, and this is one way to use the architect scale to measure things to the nearest 6 inches. I want to show you another way though. Okay, and it involves using these little divisions to the right of the 0. So here's how it works. We measured something and it's bigger than 28 feet. So instead of using the marks out here, and instead of guessing, what we're going to do is we're going to just move the scale so that our line starts at the nearest whole foot, which is 28. So we know it's 28 whole feet plus a little more. And that down here on the right side of the scale, this is the little more. So now this is kind of interesting and unique. I want you to take a close look at this. This amount of space here is the same amount of space between the 0 and the 1. See, this is 1 foot over here, and this 1 foot has been broken down into smaller increments. So what we need to do is we need to figure out, what are all these little lines? What do they mean, right? So if you were to go in here, and knowing that this was 1 foot, if you were to count the spaces, and this might be a little bit tough on your scale because the spaces are pretty small, you would see that there are 12 spaces. Now we said this was a foot, and if there are 12 spaces, then each space must represent 1 inch. 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch, 6 inch. So just like before, we get the same number, except now we're working from the 28 feet. We're saying it's 28 full feet down to the 0 with a little bit more, and the little bit more is 6 inches. The tricky thing about the scale is the breakdown of the foot is going to be different on all the different scales on here. See, there are 12 spaces on the 1/4 inch scale, but if we went to the other end and looked at the 1/8 inch scale, there are not 12 spaces. Sometimes there are fewer, and sometimes there are more. So your job when you're measuring at one of these scales is to figure out, what does the breakdown represent? How precise can I measure using this scale? Okay, and this scale will allow you to measure actually to the nearest inch at this reduced size. 1/4 inch equals a foot. So we can measure accurately down to the nearest inch. Okay, if I were to grab this and pull it back just a little bit, right, we know it's 28 feet. And then how much do we have to the right of the 0? Well, we have 1, 2, 3 spaces, 28 feet and 3 inches. You can even see, kind of like on the imperial scale, the standard ruler, how the length of the lines is broken down. They've broken it down to 6 inches, half a foot, 3 inches, and then each individual inch is called out. So see if you can note all these things when you're working with your architect scale.